When I'm sad or scared or pissed or frustrated about the world, generally speaking, I make something to express my feelings. The reason I do that is because I find that sometimes words fail me, and maybe sometimes nobody wants to hear it. I think a lot of us are pissed right now, frustrated, and it helps to get that out in a healthy, safe, thoughtful way. And making is the best thing I've ever done to express how I feel. And then as I am making these things, I make, small pieces of art, and then I can share that with my community. So right now I'm doing a project where I'm needle felting hearts, and I do needle felting a little bit different than most people. A lot of people, and this is just a personal thing, when you're an artist or a maker, that's one of the great things about being a maker. You get to choose how you make things. You get to choose what you make. All of the decisions are yours. That's part of why it's helpful to make when you're frustrated or angry or sad or scared, is because everything is something you can control for the most part. And the things that happen, the things that surprise you, the things that you don't plan for, are very often, as Bob Ross once famously said, happy little accidents. The stakes are, I wouldn't say low, but when you're able to channel your emotion into what you're making, you get so much more out of it than if you're, screaming into the void or talking to somebody who doesn't really care, or, whatever. As I've said, with making, you don't have to be a brilliant orator. You just have to have a feeling inside you that you want to get out. So today I'm making hearts. My plan is to make 100 felt hearts, and then around Valentine's Day, go to the nearest college campus, there's a few of them, and hand them out to students and let them know that that there's hope, and that, we believe in them, and that whatever it is they're doing, it's great, and that on the other side of this horrible time, there will be something better. As older people, we know that we go through different times in history, and yeah, it's been horrible now, but I would say, and I said this to somebody the other day, I'd still rather be living right now than I would if it were like the Dark Ages, like the medieval times. At least now nobody's running after me trying to, skin me alive or force me to be chattel. So yeah, today I'm going to be making a felt heart. As you can see, I've been tearing my felt up because I like the whole idea of happy little surprises or happy little accidents. Like when I tear up the felt and then I just go at it with my needles, I can't really control what's going to happen. The felt kind of does its own thing. And so as you can see, for the last couple minutes, I've been tearing this up. And I chose these colors because I'm a resident of a town outside of Seattle. And while I'm not a big fan of football anymore, I grew up in Chicago, so I was a huge fan of football. But I'm a pacifist. And all of the violence that was going on for a long time outside of the games, perpetrated by football players and kind of swept under the rug, probably still is happening. But I just couldn't, as a person, as a human, I felt like supporting a sport that allows that would not be in my best interest. As a woman, and knowing that, football players were beating up and killing their wives, I just felt like, you know what? I'm out. I'm not going to support that sport. But I am a resident of a town outside of Seattle, and I'm a fan of sports. Like, I love baseball. I decided to make this heart the same kind of similar colors as the Seattle Seahawks, because from what I understand, they're in the Super Bowl this year. So, you know, that's what I'm doing. So I'm gonna show you a little bit of a short demo of how to needle felt in this way. So one of the things you want to do when you're needle felting is make sure that you have something underneath the area that you're the felt that you're felting, because you don't want to stick these into your body. They hurt a lot. And some people use sponges. I just grab a blanket. I have so many blankets because, as you might have guessed, bees really need to stay warm, especially in the winter months. So as you can see, I just go around, and at first I'm just kind of creating a very rough form that I'm going to make a heart out of. And the sound of this is amazing. Doesn't that sound good? I love the sound of it. It also feels really good. It's a viscerally satisfying experience. That's part of why I do this, is because it's actually incredibly satisfying. So then I turn it over, and I'm gonna start to needle felt the other side. And really what I'm doing is I'm connecting all of the small fibers together. And as you do this, you're tearing fibers and you're connecting them on a very small level. So it's a little bit like Velcro happening, like all of the torn fibers. You saw me tearing this up in the beginning. All the torn fibers kind of do their thing and get all hooked up together as I'm doing this. And while I'm doing this, I have the joy of listening to that sound. So this is one of the great things about what I do as a bee, is that not only is it amazing to walk up to a stranger and hand them a heart and say, I think you're amazing, you inspire me, I believe that there's still hope, and I believe that we can bring love and compassion into the world. That in itself is a wonderful and revolutionary act. But spending my time making things like this, like I'll usually make about 100 at a time. Spending my time doing that is incredibly meditative, incredibly therapeutic. And as I said, it helps me to kind of really digest and move through the pain I'm feeling about what's going on in the world right now. You know, there's a lot of super scary stuff happening. People are behaving monstrously. And so not only is my heart broken for the people whose lives are being lost, who are being unalived, who are being rounded up and sent to labor prisons for, you know, institutional labor for corporations. But my heart does break also for the people committing these horrible acts. I can't imagine where you'd have to be in your life where you felt like it was okay to shoot innocent people, or you felt like it was okay to treat people like they were not human. You know, what have you grown up with? I've never known a happy, well-adjusted person who has been capable of doing these kinds of atrocious things. So while I definitely have huge amounts of empathy for the victims and their families, I also, my heart breaks for the people who are doing these things, because my guess is if they're so comfortable with this kind of behavior is that they have had some pretty horrible things done to them. It doesn't excuse it. I mean, I've been in abusive situations. I didn't grow up in the best household. It's not a reason or an excuse to be a horrible person, you know. A lot of that, is an opportunity to become a better human. But, not everybody has those tools. Not everybody has access to those opportunities. And so while, yeah, my heart is breaking for people who lose their lives, these people have been losing their lives like this for as long as we've been around. It's coming home to us now that the money we pay our government is funding violence. And now that we're seeing it in real time, it's always funded violence all over the world. But now we're watching our neighbors die. We're watching our neighbors get collected by thugs, basically, in masks. And it's just one of those things, like, what do you do? We all want to help. And for me, I believe that it's my job to bring love into the world. I believe that it's my job to give people hope and to tell people, don't give up. To remind people that there's historical precedents that peaceful protest and nonviolent protests work. Just look at the great grape boycott of 1965. Millions of Americans stopped eating grapes so 5,000 farm workers could have better working conditions. It's true. Humans are capable of great things. Truly great love, great compassion, great resource, great assistance. Just look at the people of Minnesota. They're banding together to protect their neighbors. The whole reason this is happening is because Minnesota is such a strong community-based state. They have the highest polling numbers of any state in the union. More people in Minnesota vote than in almost any other state. So we might understand why they're a target, besides that, everything else. But as I'm saying, see, these are the things you think about while you're making. So right now I have this kind of heart shape, as you can see, I've created. And now I'm just going to go here in the middle. I'm going to do this carefully because, as I've said, it does hurt when you stick yourself with these needles, and nobody likes that. So as you can see, this is becoming more and more in the shape of a heart. So yeah, I feel better now that I've made this. Not only because I've made it, but because I know that I'm making this in order to give to a person that is a stranger to me right now. Somebody I've never met before. Somebody who might be scared, might be sad. This is the part where I'm leaving it up to the universe, right? Going around, I've done this several times now where I go around the country with art and I just hand it to people I don't know. And I just trust that I'm going to find the people who need to hear this message of love and compassion. And so right now, I am getting this ready for a Valentine's Day project I'm doing. But eventually I'm going to be taking Amtrak and going to different colleges around, the country. And I'm going to be going to college campuses and talking to students and talking about the art of resistance and what that can look like, and how creativity is our best weapon and it's the biggest threat to fascism. Creativity is one of those things that we've been taught that only certain people have. That, a lucky few of us are talented creatively. But, in the 60s, NASA measured creativity in people, and they found that they took a group of like 6-year-old kids, and they found that 98.5% of them tested at a creative genius level. And the rest were all like just a little bit less than that. And then they followed them throughout their lives, and every like 4 or 5 years they tested them to see if they hung on to that. And they found that the whole reason that they lost touch with their creative genius is because of how, you know, our school system trains you out of it and convinces you that you're not creative. Like any creative impulse you have is squashed because the person teaching you either doesn't understand it or you know, is afraid of their own creative impulse. So this is one of the things I do, and this is why I dress as a bee, is I believe that people are innately creative, and the whole reason we've been taught that we aren't is because it's easier to control us when we have no contact with our inner power. And our creativity is a gigantic part of our inner power. And so that's why I come on here and I talk about, you know, what we can do. We don't have to bump heads with the system that's trying to crush us. We can put something else out into the world that's in direct conflict with that. So by me bringing in love and compassion and creativity and art in the world, I am fighting fascism, but in a way that's loving and kind and thoughtful and helpful. My project is about making friends with people I don't know. Part of what fascism does is it seeks to divide us. And I know that the more friends I have and the more people are subjected or exposed to people who are different from them, the more they have compassion and empathy for people they don't know. So, you know, I recently have been reading about how a lot of the people who are MAGA people believe that people with colorful hair and nose rings are dangerous. Which is funny to me because if you know any of these people like I do, I don't have a nose ring or colored hair, but a lot of these people, I have friends who fit this description. And you know, they're kind, nice, thoughtful people for the most part. They're artists, they're makers. And so the fact that MAGA is trying to turn them into a threat in order to incite violence kind of shows you how desperate they are actually. So yeah, that's my goal, and that's something that maybe would be good to think about. You know, if you're somebody who is scared or frustrated, try making something, right? There's something inside of you that wants to come out that can't be verbalized. So write it, play music, make a cake, create a painting or a sculpture. It doesn't have to be art. You can, like, you know, take up sewing, take up knitting, make something that you can use. So much of my life is full of things that people have made me, like shirts and sweaters and mittens and hats that I wear, and it makes me feel special, right? Like whenever you have these things in your lives that your friends and family and people you maybe don't even know have made for you, your life takes on meaning that it doesn't with mugs from Target. So yeah, I make. And if you want to join my hive, I would love to have you. The more of us in community there are, the better. I'm creating a community of makers, and we are fighting fascism by putting love into the world. If this resonates, please join us. Watch my videos. I'm going to be showing you how to do a whole lot of things, not just needle felting. I'm a potter, I'm a painter, I do origami, I do found object sculptures. I do so many things. And it's helped me deal with what's going on right now. Whenever I'm scared or sad or frightened, I make something and I feel better. So come on and join us. We'd love to have you. I'm the pollinator, and I make things in order to fight fascism.